just press the exit thing. Um, so we're gonna be reviewing the Smackers and the Crunch Berries today. These two strains are both supposedly supposed to be more on the gassy side. The Crunch Berries is a cross of the Gaseous Clay, the Billy Kimber OG, and the it's slipping my brain what the other strain is in the mix of it. But the Smackers is the Gorilla Glue cross to Rosé. So the Rosé is Skittles times an unknown. I would say it's definitely more of like a fruity type strain. That's what the Rosé is, but it's definitely something that pretty much matches well with the Gorilla Glue in a way that I would say is definitely going to be interesting for most people. That to be said, the the Smackers, this version of it, I would say is not super effective. Most Gorilla Glues that I've had are very much going to pack a little bit more of a punch. They're going to be much more noticeable, a little bit more in your face, but not in an overwhelmingly blatant way that's just gonna be just like making you just like hate it. You know what I mean? There's some strains that are a little bit too slap you in the face, like an SFVOG, where it's a little bit too much of that head high, where you're gonna be a little bit just sick of it before you even get to enjoy it. I would say Gorilla Glue's the opposite of that in a way, where it's a decent head high and it's going to lead to this very great body high and just great overall effect that is just amazing for mostly all consumers. So I would say that the majority of Gorilla Glue crosses or just Gorilla Glues that I've ever had are really good, but there's a huge difference between the number 4 and most of the other varieties of phenos that are available for most people. I would say that most people are not going to have access to the Gorilla Glue number 4 just a first try. It's kind of one of those ones you have to adventure through the strain to be able to figure out how to find it. That to be said, let's get to rating this one. The Smackers is Rosé times Gorilla Glue, as I said before a few times. And this one is a high, I would say this one for the high, I would say about a 7. It's not super heavy, but definitely going to be something that is very noticeable and definitely going to relieve you of stress. And that's what I mean by noticeable. I wouldn't have to say it's super in your face noticeable like some other versions of crosses of Gorilla Glue would be, where some other ones would just be a lot more effective, just much more strong in a weird way. This one is not like that. This one's a little bit more clear-headed and just a little bit um gonna boost your energy in like a cool but like not super overwhelming way. I would say this one is definitely going to be more of like a body effect. It's going to be definitely very calming for your body, very just comfortable, but also kind of like gives you this like weird boost of energy that is pretty enjoyable and pretty good for medical users. So this one is definitely great for what it's meant for, but it's also something that is sort of not as effective as other versions, so I would say it's well deserving of that grade. I would say for the taste, I would say a 7 as well. I would say the reason for that is because you actually will get sort of that sweetness and a little bit of that like funky weird glue taste the first couple of times you try it, but it's gonna fade so fast and it's not gonna be really something you're just gonna want to keep picking up. It's gonna be more of that one that kind of gets left to the back, and there's gonna be a little bit of enjoyment with the taste because it does sort of have this little bit of like a chocolatey, gassy sweetness, but it's gonna be something that fades into air pretty fast. It's pretty annoying compared to like other things that can keep that consistency throughout every experience. This one for the smell, I would say a 5. Very, very airy. Only really going to get like a good smell of the breakup when it's like broken up, when it's grinded up. You're gonna get a decent smell, but besides that, it's just gonna be pretty much airy and just pretty dull. It's not gonna be super appealing or even noticeable until you really break it up. So I would say that's definitely a huge um piece of the puzzle that some people would not approve of. For the look, I would say that the look is pretty much flawless. I would really say there's no one can really find any flaws in it. It has great structure, great buildup of trichomes. The trichomes not all are steady with they all seem like they're a little bit tampered with in a weird way, where they're like bent up and some of the heads are missing off some of the trichomes, but the overall structure isn't like squished. It's pretty good for something that comes in a Mylar bag. So this one, I would say an overall of like a 6.3, maybe a 6.4. Not necessarily something you're going to want to go hunting for, but it's definitely something you might want to pick up if you are someone who enjoys Gorilla Glue crosses and wants to try it crossed with some sweet dessert-like thing. Before we get into the next one, let me just read a few comments. I almost like can't believe some people are humans by the way they act. But Jesus loves you as well. Much love. Let's get into the second one. The second one is the Crunch Berries. This one is a newer strain. This is something that is more. It's more something that is good for the smell, maybe good for the taste as well, but it's also something that I've noticed it gets a lot of hate amongst a lot of the community. That's kind of why I actually went and grabbed it, was because I thought it would be very interesting to test it compared to what a lot of people say. A lot of people say it's just garbage and it really is just like a hyped up strain, but this is something that I sort of do agree with them in that way. It's sort of hyped up when it comes to the actual effects. You're not really going to get much of an effect off this at all. It's going to be something that is great for the taste, great for the smell, and it's something that is something that I could imagine there's probably some great version of it out there, and there's probably a lot of people that are trying to mimic it, trying to reproduce that version that they tried. Usually is not super successful right away, and that's what happens with a lot of different things. That's what happened with like an LCG. A lot of these different strains that become super wanted, something that's in high demand, usually isn't easy to dial in at first, but once people usually do, it becomes something that becomes like a kush where it just gets overpopulated. It becomes the thing people are trying to make huge amounts of profit off, so people are growing it in all types of weird ways. So I'm not quite sure about this one. I would say once I get to grading this one, I would look at the high and I would say at best maybe a 4. It's really not really it's this weird euphoric like calm kind of like cool high, but it's sort of like a CBD effect in a weird way where it's just not super psychoactive. It's more the lights are pretty cool, but you also kind of just get this calm feeling that lasts for a short period of time. It's not super effective, definitely not a medically beneficial strain in any way at all. I can't imagine this one being something that people would ever have any medical benefits from. But at the same time, I could see a lot of people really enjoying this when they are just watching a movie, doing something like simple, not really not really using it for anything that's worthy of using it for. I would say this is definitely the type of strain that I could imagine people who are sipping lean, doing other drugs would probably love because it's no effect, but it's just taste. So when we move to the taste, this one I would say is very good the first few times. It has this sweet, fruity, very candy-like taste that is so different from most candies. It's not going to be similar to a gelato, really. It's going to be similar to like I would say it's sort of similar to to like weird runts, but when you compare it to most things, it's really just so fruity and so strange that it's hard to really put a exact pinpoint on what it really tastes like, besides maybe like a crunch berries, or if anyone's familiar with maybe 2018, 2019 in the weed game, there was this brand called, I think it was All Berries. It was this guy that was very close to Powers Up. He's someone who does podcasts with Powers Up pretty frequently. I would have to double check what his name is, but I think the brand was All Berries or something along those lines. And it was the exact same thing as this. It was something that I was so amazed with when I smoked this the first time. I was like, wow, I've had this before. I was always searching for to try this again, but I was just blown away that this was the exact same thing. But should I use foot cream? I don't know. But this is definitely something that is pretty dope when it comes to the taste. Pretty fruity and just very hard to explain. The best way to explain it is like the crunch berries, but like if you ever got the cereal version of where it's just all berries. Definitely a synthetic cereal, terrible for you, but it's that type of taste and smell, which is a little bit mind blowing, a little bit scary in a weird way, because you're like, how does something taste this good, this artificial almost? But it's very odd. I would say for the smell, a 10, very, very attractive. This is gonna be something that you open the bag, you're just gonna be blown away. It smells like just this candy berries that is just very, very odd, but it makes sort of sense because of the genetics of this strain. It's just such a weird cross that it doesn't it's not super odd that it has like this fruity taste, but also like a hint of like a funky weirdness that is just able to create such like a odd smell as well. In my opinion, this is something that I would say a lot of people would just be blown away if they smell this. They're gonna have to try it. They're gonna have to buy it. They're gonna have to taste it. You know what I mean? So I would say this one 10 for that. But when it comes to looks, not super impressed. I would say this one was squished. It was smalls. It was just not something that I was super impressed with. I would say I would not grab this if I seen it, but I had to try it just because I was just so interested to try this exact strain, because so much people are out there saying they love it, so many people are saying they hate it, so many people are having such a mixed opinion of it. I wanted to put it to the test and actually see if it's reasonable or if it's just garbage. And I would say overall I would say a 5.75. It's pretty much hype. I would say pretty much all hype. I would say there's no real valuable piece of this besides the flavor. So what I'm thinking when I see this having such a good flavor and smell and not really being so good in other ranges, or like not really being the best when it comes to the look or the effect, but it's really good with the flavor and the smell. It leads me to think this could be a better worker strain. A lot of people aren't familiar with what that means, but there's so many strains out there that are better used as a tool. You use it as something that you breed with, and I could imagine this crunch berries being something that is just super good to breed with because of the flavor and the smell that it brings. Would be just amazing if it was crossed to something that really had that strong effect where it was actually able to give you some medical purpose. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different things out there that have great flavor, no medical purpose. There's so many things out there that have medical purpose but no flavor. So that's one thing I wish I would see more with a lot of these breeding projects people are doing. I think we are going to see it more and more as time comes because people are now moving away from just flavor. People are moving away from just selling stuff based on looks and smells because a lot of different changes are coming within the market. At one point in the market, people were basically buying just based upon the smell and the look, and that was like the COVID time where people really couldn't, or that was even before the COVID time, was when people were buying based upon the smell and the looks. COVID time was when people started buying based upon the bags, started basing their purchase on how things were presented to them because they weren't able to go smell it or see it. They were only able to get it presented on screen, which now made people want to buy stuff based upon how it's packaged. And that wasn't really super big before then. It got huge during COVID time because it was just super necessary almost. You know what I mean? It was a necessary evil within that time of actually getting your stuff sold is the way you presented it. And we start to see that with all types of things, fashion, all types of weird things are sold based upon different types of angles like that. And it leads me to say that a strain like this probably would have done way better in that time, but I can see this one being only really useful as a tool now, as a worker strain now. But all this to be said, I will be posting majority of my content going further on my other channel. My other channel is the High Minds Entertainment. It's a channel where I'm going to be talking about all types of different interesting things, such as doing interviews with cannabis brands, doing interviews with cannabis growers, doing in real life content, going to all types of interesting places like Miami, places that are not necessarily safe to go at nighttime, but I'm gonna go there at nighttime and document it in a way that is going to be showing all types of sides of it that people probably wouldn't be able to see unless there was someone who was going there and documenting it in the way that I'm trying to do it. So I think that people will enjoy those videos because it's just something you won't be able to see. Most people do. Most people won't show it at nighttime. So it is definitely going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of other stuff to piece in there, like different reactions and all types of stuff to piece into that other channel. But definitely appreciate anyone who goes and subscribes over there. I will try to figure out some sort of stash and dash style thing to do in the Miami area and also other areas on that other channel in the future too. So much love.